What's going on, you brothers, man? It's your dude, Mr. International Passport, back again for yet another classic live stream. First and foremost, brothers, please press a 1 in the live stream chat if you can hear me loud and clear. How's my audio, brothers? Okay, please press a 1 in the live stream chat if my audio is loud and clear. Can you brothers hear me? Press a 1 in the chat if you can hear me loud and clear, brothers. Thank you very much, Eben Collins. Appreciate you, bro. CB Video 5, thank you for confirming as well, brother. Awesome. So, brothers, welcome to another incredible live stream. I want to say, first and foremost, thanks to those who have supported the channel over the past couple of years. That's greatly appreciated. I see you, Thomas. Thomas, please make sure you promote the Cash App, the Patreon, the new channel, the Merc as well, and all my socials. Please, Thomas, I would greatly appreciate that. And of course, shout out to the new people. I welcome you and I embrace you with open arms. Brothers, as soon as you come in, brothers, please hit the like button. Likes are very important. Please engage in the comment section in the live stream. And of course, comment after this video is published on my channel. And of course, brothers, support the channel any way you can. That'd be greatly appreciated. So, brothers, today I have a very special guest with me called Mr. Steel Bill, who is here to share with us his experiences he had in Colombia 4 years, which is a very long time. So without any further ado, Mr. Steel Bill, do you mind giving us a brief intro about yourself, who you are, what you do, and anything special about you, brother?
You're cutting out a little bit. I couldn't hear the last thing you said.
Hold on, brother. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, brother. So, brother, do you mind giving us a brief intro into who you are, what you do, where you're from, and anything special about you, brother?
Yeah. So, firstly, thanks for having me on the show, man. I appreciate you linking up with me and choosing my story for this episode. Appreciate what you're doing for people out there, man. To see that there's an alternative method that we can use to travel the world and get what we really want out of life. So I really appreciate you having me on here.
Thank you.
So my name is Will. I'm originally from Seattle, went to school in Michigan. When I moved to Chicago, I moved there for about 4.5 years. We had 3 days of negative 42 degrees with wind chill factor. So I think it's actually the same. I think it's the same in Celsius, right? So 3 days of negative 42 degrees of wind chill factor. I said, forget this, right? Ended up getting my ticket and then moving to Argentina. And then that's kind of when everything started. So moved down to Argentina at first. And then that's kind of when everything embarked and then started traveling. And then ended up finding Colombia, stayed there for 3.5 years and then kind of went from there. So that's one of the reasons why I started was because, one, I had always wanted to live in Argentina, or I'd always wanted to live in a Spanish-speaking country. 2, it was really cold in Chicago, and I was like, forget this, I'm done with this. And 3, I've always wanted to kind of live abroad and experience different cultures and see how that side of the world was.
That's awesome. That's fantastic, brother. Great intro there. So, brother, so where were you living in Colombia for 4 years? Was it in different places or was it in one place, brother?
So I said 4 years just so, it just make things a little bit easier, but it's about 3 years, 3.5 years, 3 years, 7 months, something like that. I lived in Medellin for the entire time. Within Medellin, I lived in Poblado and Envigado. I'm trying to think about if I lived in Laureles. I went to Laureles quite often, but those are kind of like the top 3 neighborhoods within Medellin. But I lived in Envigado in Medellin, so I actually moved to different places within those areas. And probably like around four different places within those areas, moved like 4 different times. So
awesome, brother. Awesome. So let me ask this, brother. Why did you pick Colombia as your place to live there for multiple years? Obviously, there's Peru, there's Argentina, there's Germany, there's all these other countries around the world, brother. What was the allure of Colombia that made you pick it? Like, yeah, I want to move there.
So what happened was I originally started out and moved down to Argentina, and when I was in Buenos Aires, I was probably there for about 3 weeks or so, and I liked it, but I didn't love it, right? So I actually ended up meeting with a friend in Chile, a friend of a friend, and she was like, "Hey, I'm going to be traveling throughout South America. Would you like to join me?" So I was like, "Yeah." So that was at the time of like the World Cup. So I flew over to Brazil, checked out the World Cup, and then she met up with me down in Argentina. We watched the Germany Argentina game. Germany Argentina game there, and then we started after that. And then we went to Uruguay, Paraguay, um, Chile, so like Atacama Desert, um, up through Peru, Ecuador, and I think we split ways in Peru, and I kept going up. So I went up through Ecuador and then Colombia. Um, I'm a big weather and women person, right? So as I was starting to go up Ecuador, Peru, Peru's nice, but the women.
Yeah.
Anyways, at any rate, so I was going up through Ecuador. I started seeing that the women looked, a little bit more pretty. The climate was a little bit more modest in terms of being around like 60s, 70s all year round because it's Ecuador because it's on the equator. And then once you got up to Colombia, I mean, it's just like the heavens parted, like angels started singing, and once you get to Medellin, I need to catch my breath. I mean, it's the best looking woman you've ever seen in your life by far, hands down, right? And all the time. In addition to having perfect weather, right? So you'll get 60 to 85 degrees all year round. Um, Very rarely kind of goes below that 60-degree mark. Um, and man, I've already forgotten the conversion for Celsius, but 60 to 85 degree mark all year round. The people were really nice, right? So at that stage, it was back in 2014, and people were really genuinely excited that we were there. I remember one time doing the free walking tour, and somebody came up to us at the end, and he was like, "Hey, man, just want to let you know," and this was in Spanish, right? So the tour guide was kind of he was translating for us, and he was like, "Hey, just want to let you know, like, I'm really appreciative that you guys are here. Thank you for visiting our country. We're really appreciative." Because at that time, people were so afraid for so many years because of the whole Pablo Escobar, because of the whole um, drug era, that people were afraid to go there. So when it kind of started opening back up, and when there's more tourism in like the 2009, 2008, 2010, whatever area, people were really excited that they were able to showcase their country off to the world.
Awesome, bro. Thank you for that breakdown, brother.
Sure.
So, brother, so when you decided to move to Colombia, what was your family and friends' decision? You're like, oh, look at this passport, bro, name going to Colombia for woman. Or was that, oh yeah, go out there, Bill, and enjoy life? Or what was
Yeah,
the reaction, bro?
yeah. I mean, the most pushback that you're gonna get is from your mom, right? Because your mom just doesn't want to see you leave. It just becomes a lot harder to go back and see family, and you're not able to see them as much. But at that point in time, man, that was kind of when people were deciding to like quit their job and go travel overseas. So, I mean, everybody I told, I think maybe one person was kind of giving me a little bit of pushback. But in terms of like quitting your job and doing something that not a lot of people did at that time, a lot of people were all aboard. So you would hear things like, "Oh man, like you only live once," and I wish I did something like that. And these people have families and everything. So a lot of people were actually really excited. A lot of people follow me on Facebook, and I don't really put stuff up on Instagram, but a lot of people follow my travels on Facebook, and they really enjoyed the fact that you're doing something that a lot of people aren't able to do. So no, at that time, uh, Colombia wasn't really well known in those terms for being like a country that people go to for the women and for all that stuff. Like it was like kind of like more underground. Um, but people still thought of it as like a dangerous country. So I didn't really hear anything once I arrived.
Awesome, bro. Fantastic. Brothers, if you have any questions for our guests, please, you must cash app and super chat your questions, brothers. And of course, brothers, please support the movement. Hit the cash apps, hit the super chats, support this important messages I'm pushing out throughout this channel and the movement, giving you back-to-back classics on Germany. So please support me more. I would greatly appreciate it, brothers. Thank you very much. So next question for you, still, Bill, is, okay, so when you went to Colombia, brother, how were you surviving? How were you making money there? Were you remote working, or did you use savings? Break it down for us, brother, in terms of making money and, of course, living there financially.
So originally, my grandma, she passed away in 2012, and we sold her home. Me and my brothers, we sold her home, which, in retrospect, it's a terrible decision. However, right, I digress. We sold her home, and then I took the proceeds from that, and so that was one of the jumping points from that was allowed me to actually leave Chicago in the first place. I had a little bit saved up, but not that much actually to go abroad. So that would kind of go into the story too, because if you kind of jump off with no plan, then a lot of times things will catch up to you, right? So one of the things I did do was I was just kind of spending frivolously. I was just flying from here to there and just like, oh, let me go to the World Cup last second, paid premier prices and all that stuff. And that stuff catches up to you. So it originally started because I had gotten that inheritance from my grandma. And then when I got there, I was just like, oh shoot, like the money's starting to run out. Like what can I do? I used to play online poker back in the 2003 to 2007, 2008 era. I actually dropped out of school for a couple of years and then played poker semi-professionally. Ended up getting a job and all that stuff, so that was kind of done. But I did really well in this sense that, like, I was, from time to time, for a period, I was making about $1,000 a day. However, that was known as like the golden era of poker. So essentially what happened was in the United States, a guy named Chris Moneymaker won the World Series of Poker. Everybody decided to join poker because they're like, hey, if an amateur can do it, then I can make money too. So it brought a lot of money to the game of poker. So it's one of those things that if you're able to get good quickly, you're able to kind of take advantage of that run. And that's what I did. So I was able to make pretty good money before, like, I ended up getting a job. So what I decided to do, I was like, oh, okay, well, I did online poker in the past. Let me jump back into that, right? And the game had changed by that time. So essentially, it had become a lot more. You're studying charts, you're running this program when you're playing online poker. So you look at the numbers. So you're taking a look at, okay, this person raises in this position this many times. He C bets and continuation bets on the flop. So you're analyzing all these programs. So it's not really you're playing heads up with somebody, you're trying to analyze tells and all that stuff. It's very mathematical, right? What I ended up doing was there's this guy, he was actually really good. I convinced him to trade services, right? So he would teach me the game of poker, and then I would lift with him. So then we were kind of doing a one-to-one trade-off. So then I got relatively decent, and I was able to make money over the course of those next 4 years playing online poker.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. That's fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great, bro. So that's how you were surviving. Fantastic. In terms of property, brother, were you using Airbnb? Were you staying at hotels or hostels? Did you have a friend you were staying over in Colombia? How did you sort out your accommodation, bro?
So when I first got there, I did an Airbnb, and then it's kind of generally what everybody does. They do an Airbnb and they start to look around and try and figure the situation out from there. It's not the easiest thing to kind of figure out, right? Because just like in the United States, you need to have credit and all that stuff. The same thing as in Colombia. There are different requirements you need to have. I happened to be talking to my Airbnb host, and they said, hey, my uncle has a place and he's looking for a roommate. Would you like to live there? So I met up with the uncle, cool dude, guy was in his 60s. He actually ended up being my roommate for like 2 years. So while I was playing poker, I was just like, he was my roommate, and everything worked well at that point. So then after that, what I ended up doing was getting with the poker team or a couple of other poker guys, and then we got a penthouse, um, which had a maid. Coincidentally, we had a maid, and she would make breakfast for us, and she was there, I think, from maybe like 7 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock or something like that every day. Made really great breakfasts, but ended up going with the poker guys, and then I lived with them for some time at that penthouse, and then I ended up moving up with some other friends. So when you get there, actually, that's what I kind of wanted to tell you guys, because I forgot the name of the group, but if you guys Facebook put in um, Medellin expat or Medellin gringos or something like that, you get a lot of great information from people who are already living there, right? So you can either search that group and then find out some information that's more pertinent to you, or you can ask questions within the group. So I found and then you can find roommates from that. I think Medellin classifieds. Um, they'll have properties that are available for foreigners to get, and then you can look for roommates if you're looking for roommates at that time. But there's a lot of different sources, but I would say probably starting off in Facebook groups will kind of point you in the right direction.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. Fantastic. So language, brother, which is a very important factor when living in the country for multiple years. Did you already know Spanish, or did you learn Spanish in Colombia, or hold on, or was English enough there to navigate, finding apartments and meeting people?
So how can I put this? I think that the Spanish-speaking population in Medellin, and mind you, I'm giving you like older numbers, so things may have changed, right? But I say like 5% of Medellin, I think, spoke English. You can get around speaking English. I wouldn't do that, and I think that that's one of the things that, because I take a look at things from a long-term perspective. Passport Bros is I think probably going to end up turning into something that, whereas people, my whole theory is that more people are going to need to live overseas because they won't be able to afford to live in their cities, right? And as things become more mobile, more people will start to understand it's like, hey, if I'm making 60 grand a year here, that same 60 grand in Brazil equates to a $200,000, living style, right? So to get back to it, I would recommend learning English. I recommend it. I study Spanish. Excuse me, did I say English? I recommend learning Spanish. I studied Spanish in school. I've always had a knack for it. I've always had an understanding. I would say my Spanish was decent getting there, and then I got pretty good after that. But
Awesome.
so you can get around. And so here's the thing: don't be that guy, right? And when I mean that guy is the guy who goes on these dates with Google Translate and just uses that the entire time. And a lot of older guys do that. Sure, I mean, if it is what it is, if it's very transactional, go ahead. It's whatever. But you're not going to build a connection with somebody over a significant period of time by just if you guys don't understand what you guys are talking about.
Beautiful. Thank you, bro. Where are all the brothers tonight, brothers? We got only 60 people. Normally we have like 150 people. Is there a big sports events happening today? Super Bowl, NBA, whatever.
Super
It's
Bowl.
normally a lot more lively around
What
this time. What's
sports
going on,
is there?
brothers?
I don't think so.
Okay, interesting. Sorry, bro, but over the past couple of days, I feel like YouTube's been playing around my channel.
Yeah,
Something's it's been weird. I don't know. Ever since the Germany videos, I don't know, man.
in a
It's
good way
weird
or bad way.
in a very bad way. I've noticed, and I'm not happy about that. Something's going on fishy, in my opinion. But let's
I feel like a lot of creators end up saying that. They're like, dude, their algorithm. I think, I mean, if somebody could figure out that algorithm, like they would be a very rich. Well, actually, I think people have figured it out. That's why you have a Mr. Beast. You have do you know Eric? Like AIRRACK.
no.
Okay. Like he has some, really interesting videos, but there's a lot of people who have kind of figured it out. But it seems like it just likes to change
Fluctuate,
up on
right?
you.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, bro. So
Sure.
let's carry on, brother. So the next question I have for you, brother, is in terms of safety. All right. So you're out there in Colombia, which isn't that much known for safety. When you were in Medellin, brother, were you safe there? Did you have any sort of close instance? Break it down for us, bro.
So yes and no. Yes, the answer is I never had any instances while I was there. No, being don't think you're just gonna go there and treat it the same way as where you're leaving, right? Like if you're from a dangerous place, then it's just quite kind of equivalent. However, even if you're from a dangerous place, the types of things that happen are a lot different than maybe where you come from, right? So I did get pickpocketed while I was in Brazil, not while I was in Colombia, but while I was in Brazil. Um, in Colombia, the main thing is what you always hear. The only way in which like people die as a result of like crime there is if one you're involved with like some shady stuff, right? Like if you're involved with like the whole uh, like drugs or prostitution, and when I say prostitution, I mean like you're going deep into some stuff that you shouldn't be into, or two, uh, you don't give up your shit, right? So
Language,
basically,
bro.
if you understand that concept, like, hey, this thing right here is not worth your life, like at all. And that was one of the things that I kind of had to come to terms with because there's a oh fuck this man, I'm not getting my phone stolen.
Sorry,
Like
sorry, bro.
you have
Sorry,
to
brother.
just put that.
Sorry,
What's that?
sorry. Language, bro. Please avoid swearing, brother. Language. Keep it PG, bro.
I can't hear you.
Ah, sugar. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry, brother. So keep it
yeah, I can
PG,
hear you.
brother. Avoid swearing, please.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. So just give it up, right? So people do get mugged there, whether it be through knife or whatever. I mean, if maybe you get outrun or whatever. But like, if you get mugged, just give up your stuff. The only time in which people like tourists or foreigners end up dying is because they're unwilling to give up um, whatever thing they're coming with. There's one interesting situation that I had where I was walking late at night, and so one of the advantages of being a bigger guy is just that you're typically not going to be people typically aren't going to use you to try and take money from, right, or to try to mess with, right, because there's just a lot more easier marks, right. So I kind of was able to play off of that. I wouldn't sit there and say that I went to all these different neighborhoods and was like just didn't really care. But I mean, I would go for walks at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I never got bothered with. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. There's part of that's just because I was stupid, younger, and all that stuff. So you take that what you will. However, there was one interesting time where I was walking at night, and these cops came up to me, and they're like, "Hey, just let you know, there's a group of kids running around, and they're harassing people, and just be aware, right?" So I kept walking, and then I see these group of kids, right? It's about 12, maybe 12, 13 little like 14-year-old boys, right? So I'm like, oh shit, whatever. So I just continued walking and they caught up with me. And one of the things that was kind of cool is I recognized that kid, one of the kids, because a lot of people there would do like street performances. And so every day when I'd go by and I would see them, like I just, give them some change and say what's up, whatever, and just kind of chat with him for a little bit. So when he got up to me, he was just like, oh, okay, like he's cool, right? So then we just kind of kept walking for a little bit, and then I just parted my ways. But I can see how that could have turned, totally different. Because what they do, man, a lot of times in Brazil and in Colombia, is these kids will run around in packs, and a lot of times they're just trying to take stuff from you. But when they're feeling a little bit more rambunctious, man, like you might catch a butt whooping. Um, and there's nothing you can do, man. You can hope to take out like maybe 2, 3 of the kids, but you're not gonna be able to face 10 10 teenagers. It's just not gonna happen. But I would say if you're smart, right? If you're smart, you can't just go out there and just kind of put your stuff around and have everything out like this. Like what a lot of people will do is if they have their phone out, they'll step inside of a store real quick, and then they'll look up, directions somewhere, and then they'll go back out and they'll put their phone away. It's one of the easy ways to kind of, to get looked at as a mark is by having your phone out. Because one, a lot of their phones there aren't that expensive. They have a lot of Huawei phones. So if you have your iPhone, even 6, 7, 8, whatever, it's going to, a lot of times going to be a lot better of a generation than they have.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. And
Sure.
what visa were you on during those years you were in Colombia, bro?
So, it's so I kind of just overstayed my visa. And I kind of don't. I hope that doesn't really get out. Well, even now I say that it's probably gonna go viral or something stupid. But at that time, and I don't know if they still do it. At that time, the poker community kind of did it. Is if you just overstayed your visa, you would pay a $200 fine, and then you would be kicked out until the next calendar year, right? So if you overstayed for 2 years, which I did, I just basically took a trip to Panama on December 31st, right? Stayed there for 2 days, and then I came back in because basically I paid that fine. I stayed there, and I came back in, so that resetted the whole tourist visa thing, right? I'm not saying that that's what you should do. I did end up getting a student visa, and those student visas last for I think either 6 months or 12 months. And then as you're taking classes and stuff, then you can you kind of be there. There's other alternate routes, but those were the two that I did. And then also I think that they kind of clamped down on that first one because too many people were taking advantage of it, and they're like, oh, I got paid $200, and it's probably the most cost efficient one, to be honest.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. Let me read a couple of super chats real quick. Shout out to Mr. Moonwalker84. What the? Shout out to Mr. Moonwalker84 for the $199 super chat. Thank you, bro, for the support. Much appreciation, bro. Thank you very much. Shout out to Mr. Almighty Ree for the $5 super chat. Thank you, bro, for the support. He says, I love that he advises to learn Spanish. One of the best decisions I ever made and gave me access to higher tier women. Google Translate is no way to live. Facts,
And
man, brothers.
I'm going to expound on that again, right? You got to learn Spanish, and even if you're in the process of learning, that's a lot better than, because what's happened, right, is the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows that Colombia is a place for you to go to pick up women. Now, if you're going there for a weekend, or whatever, you're gonna do your thing, whatever. It is what it is. However, he's right. A certain demographic of women won't even talk to you if you don't speak Spanish, right? So not even if you speak Spanish, but like if you don't convey the fact that you live there, like since I lived there and I spoke Spanish, like I was like it was good, right? But he's so right about that. Like we see that a lot of times, and it looks weird, man. You just on Google Translate all the time, but take the time to learn. There's exchange groups, language exchange groups, in which people that are trying to learn English will go to. And then you'll be able to converse with people who are trying to learn English as you're trying to learn Spanish. So that's a good way to meet chicks too. I don't know if that's ever really been brought up, but language exchange is a great way to meet Colombian women.
Awesome, bro. We're going to come to women very soon, bro. Thank
Sure.
you for the support, Almighty Ree. And brothers, can we at least get the likes up, brothers? Support the movement. You got to like the video, man. Likes are free. So please, if you have not liked this video, please just hit that like button. It's not hard. It's a very easy process. Likes are very important for channel engagement and for the YouTube algorithm to push out this content to like-minded brothers. So support, brothers. How many years have I been doing this for? Almost 10 years. And some brothers can't even hit the like button. Well, it's crazy, man. You got to support the movement, because I have spent probably over 1,000 hours on this channel for the past decade, man, sacrificing my personal time, my free time, my luxury to give you brothers intel, man. And I have saved brothers all around the world. So the least you can do, brothers, is just hit that like button, man. Hit the like button. Thank you. So next question for you, brother, is I want to now take it on to the culture of Colombia. So, what was the main difference between American culture and Colombian culture that really opened your eyes up, brother?
I would say because I had studied and I'd been to Mexico, right? I would say that it's a lot more family oriented, right? I think once you actually leave the United States, you'll kind of see that a lot of other countries are more family oriented. And let me give you an example. Um, my Colombian girlfriend at the time, I was just talking to her and whatever, and I said, well, where do you live? And she was like, oh, I live with my parents still. And she was 23, and I was like, you live with your parents? And she was like, yeah, I live with my parents. And so she didn't understand that I was kind of like joking with her the fact that she was living with her parents in their 20s, because it's very common for that to happen. When I first moved to um, when I first moved there, the one of the girls that was at the Airbnb that I was staying at, she was, I think, 29, and she was just getting married. So they have a culture of where the kids stay with the parents until either they kind of really go off on their own, and it's not pushed like it is in other places. Like in America, especially when I grew up, it was just like, hey, once you turn 18, get out of my home. There, it's very expected that you stay with your family and until you get married or until you're very well off to kind of get to venture off on your own. So the family thing, one of the things I also saw was that um, they spend a lot more time with their families. So like on weekends, like it's not um, uncommon for like the family and the extended family to get together. Um, they're more of a Catholic culture, so it's kind of loosely, I would say, it kind of adheres to the to Catholicism, in that they're religious, but I wouldn't say that you're going to see people necessarily like following their religion to a T, right? But they do have that Catholic background. So I'd say it's a little bit more traditional. Um, One of the things that they have a saying, this like no dark papaya or whatever, which I think is kind of funny because essentially it means, I can't remember what it means across the board, but it essentially means like if you're doing something and then you get in trouble for doing that, and no dog papaya means like you shouldn't have been doing that thing, right? So which is kind of funny. It's a lot different than American culture. So say like if I'm out and I'm filming and I get my phone jacked, right? In Colombia, they'll say, well, you shouldn't have, no dog papaya, which means that you shouldn't have had your phone out, right? Americans would kind of take offense to that because it's kind of victim blaming, right? So it kind of in the beginning it was kind of weird, just kind of get used to that. But they're more of a culture where it's like, well, you shouldn't have put yourself in that position, and then that bad thing happened to you. So they blame more of the person who put themselves in a position to get victimized, as opposed to the person who actually uh, was the culprit and victimized the other person. So I say family, religion, but I don't think that the people there are too religious in terms of like going to church and everything. But I would say that the family thing is huge, man. After going there, I started to really actually reconsider my thoughts on how I would want to raise my family, and then not just kind of saying, that really is a thing here in the United States. It's like once you turn 18, especially when I was growing up, is you're going to go to the military, get a job, or go to school, right? Like basically get out of my house. Um, and we did do that. I ended up going to school, and then I didn't go back for quite a while. But there, it's expected that people stay with their families well into their 20s, 30s. It's not a big deal.
Awesome, bro. Great breakdown there, brother. Awesome, awesome. Um, so going on to my next question, brother, still on culture. How was life there, in terms of like, living there? Was it easy? Did you feel at peace? Was it a stressful culture? Was it an easygoing culture? Was it a culture where you finally found yourself as a black man? Like, this is who I am. You were able to have introspective thoughts in that hot weather and beautiful woman walking around you, bro. Break it down for us, brother, in that sort of way.
So one of the things I kind of want to bring up for people, because I think a lot of times we really do hear the good stuff, and there is a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of amazing things, but one of the things you have to kind of understand that because they're a third world country, they operate under third world terms. Things happen on third world time, right? So one of the things that happened when I was down in Argentina is I ended up meeting up with this girl, and we ended up going out one of the nights, and she was like, "Hey, let's meet up at 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever," because they go out super late there, right? It's like they meet up at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and they don't get to bars and clubs until like 3 o'clock in the morning, right? So she was like, "Hey, let's meet up at 1." And then she texted me later on. She's like, "Hey, I know you're American. Um, we'll say 1 o'clock, but that really means like 2:30, like 2:15, 2:45. So coming from America, right? That's like the absolute worst thing you can do is if you say that you're going to meet up with somebody at 1 o'clock, like, yeah, we'll allow some time for you to be late, but you're at least communicating with that person, like, hey, dude, I'm so sorry, running 15 minutes late, hit traffic, whatever, blah, blah, blah. There, they might not hit you up until like 2:30 and then think that everything's okay. And you're just like, wait, what's going on here? So that was one of the things that like I first saw when I got there. And you have to adjust to it. You either have to have friends that understand that you are the way you are, or you have to adjust to their culture. So, and it's not a big deal. Like there's no offense. Like it's showing up that late is they don't do that intentionally to because they're bad people, right? That's just the way their culture is. Brazil is the same exact way. So understand that you are going to a third world country in which they view time a lot differently. They're not so, hey, go get after them. They're like, hey, let's take it back. Let's take a step back. Let's chill out. It's not that much of a rush. So even though you're in a big city, you'll see that the quality, the pace of life might not be as fast as where you're coming from, right? So that too, the way that they handle business is just uh, it's again, I would say infuriating because I'm a pretty calm person in general. But let me give you an example of what happened to a friend of mine. You'll contract a person out to do a job, right? So say you have somebody that's going to install a air conditioning system, right? You contract them to do it for, let's say, just $1,000 for easy numbers. And you say, hey, I'll give you the $500 when you do 50% of the job, and then I'll give you the $500 once you, or excuse me, I'll give you the $500 up front, and then I'll give you $500 once you finish the job, right? So you give them the $500, they'll complete 95% of the work, and then just not answer their phone for 6 months. Like nothing. You won't hear from them. You'll be texting them, you'll be calling them, you'll be emailing them, all this stuff, right? You call the business, they just will not get back to you. And all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're like, oh, hey, when should we finish up this air conditioning unit? And you're like, what? Like, all you had to do was an extra 5%, and I would have paid you off, I would have paid you off this last amount. So that happens a lot. Like, there's not people aren't going to do things in a time frame that you would want them to do it a lot of times, right? Or a lot of times people would do it wrong. So like what people end up doing though is they'll get people who they trust. The part of the Facebook group is you say, hey, listen, who does a good job? Who does a good job to American or like Western standards, and basically does what they say they're going to do in a timely fashion, right? So keep in mind though, that they're a lot more laid back. Keep in mind that they're a lot more laid back, and that it's going to be a lot different than than what you see. In terms of, and so this is kind of a weird thing. In terms of being like seeing myself as a Black person there, I didn't see anything particular, and that's why I introduced you to my friend who still lives there, because I feel like he'd be able to give you a better idea of the Black experience in Medellin than I would. So I wouldn't say that I noticed anything particular that was able to help me kind of find myself. What I would say is travels in general, right? What I would say is like, say if you've never been outside of your home country, or say if you've never been to college, one of the life hacks, I think, right, is if you were to study, or excuse, not study, but if you were to travel and do the whole hostel hopping around like South America, right? So essentially what you're doing is you're going from country to country and you're staying in all these different hostels. Doing that, it's so easy to meet people. Like, one of the easiest times to meet people is when you're in college, right? When you're living in the dorms and all that stuff. I think the second easiest time for me in my life has been when I was traveling, because you're going to all these different hostels, and basically all you say is, "Hey, where did you come from? Or where are you coming from? Oh, cool, you're coming from Peru. What should I do there?" And that's just you say that to everybody, right? And then the conversation just goes from there. So I would say that traveling in general was kind of really what helped me to open my eyes, as opposed to necessarily being in Medellin.
Awesome, bro. Fantastic, brother. Great breakdown there, Still Bill. So next question for you, brother, is in terms of perhaps racism. Did you experience any racism there in Medellin, Colombia? Was the N-word said towards you? Did you hear the N-word in the open? Any sort of Colombian slurs for Black people? Any sort of racism towards you, directly or indirectly, or more of a passive aggressive vibe? Break it down for
You're
us,
cutting
bro.
out just a tad bit.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
So let me come closer to my mic. Sorry, bro. So let me repeat that question, bro.
yeah.
So did you experience any sort of racism there, in Colombia, in terms of the N-word being said towards you, or being said out there in the open during rap songs, or in general, or in terms of racism in a direct way or in a passive aggressive way, brother? Break it down for me, bro.
So the short answer is it depends. In my opinion, no, right? But in others, possibly, right? Because and this is, I guess, a conversation that would consider, I guess, a deeper dive. My definition of racism means that there's bad intent involved in that, right? My definition of racism means that there's an air of superiority, right? So what I did experience was, I think, ignorance and probably stupidity, right? And one of those examples was, and nobody called me the N-word or anything like that. One of those examples was my girlfriend. Um, what you kind of quickly saw was that was a classist society, right? So it was the haves and the have nots. One of the things that she wanted me to do was, because I always used to wear sweats. As a basketball player, I always wear sweats, whatever. She was like, "Hey, can you not wear sweats like when we go out to nice places?" And I wasn't wearing to not to nice places like a restaurant, but like, say if we went to movies, like I'd wear sweats. If we were going to a mall and just like chilling out, I'd wear sweats. And the reason why she brought that up is because people there, they dress based off of kind of like what they have, right? So the people who are kind of dressed down, those are people who are deemed as not to have money. Whereas here in the States, you'll see a billionaire walk out in sweats, a tank top or whatever, or shorts or whatever, and that doesn't happen like that in Colombia. So they're more of a class of society. What you started to see was that, like, I very rarely saw other Black Colombian people in the nicer areas, in Poblado and in Envigado. The people that
Wow.
were working there, or excuse me, the people that were Black Colombians were actually working there. I think I saw maybe a few people, if I could actually tell, that were actually Black and Colombian, that lived in those areas. So that was one thing. So to kind of go back to the story, so my girlfriend, she would take me to meet people, and when she would take me to meet people, they would say something along the lines of, oh, are the stories of what they say about black guys true? Right. So I heard this the first time, and it's just like whatever, right? Just kind of shrug it off. Um, then I heard it again, right? And this is in front of me. So she's introducing me to like a coworkers or whatever, and then they laugh and they say, "Hey, are the stories about what they say about black guys true?" And the second time I was just like, "Okay, whatever." Happened a third time, right? And then after that time, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna have a comeback for these guys." What it kind of showed me is that they had just never actually spoken with black people before because at that time, I think that it was so segregated that what it kind of showed to me is that they probably didn't have any black friends. Not for a lack of like them saying, "Hey, I don't want any black friends," but it was very rare to have black Colombians in that area. So I kind of had a little thing that I was going to say the next time it happened. It didn't happen. We ended up breaking up, but um, that was what I saw. So do I consider that racism? I don't personally. I consider it ignorance, and I consider it stupidity. Like you just like why would you say that to somebody that you met for the first time? But other people might consider that racist. In terms of like police and all that stuff, uh, they're gonna stop you. I've been stopped more more because basically because I was an American, than because of my skin color when I was there, or even in the United States. Like I've never really had any issues here in the United States, but there within like the first 3 weeks, like when I'm walking down Poblado or whatever, or Parque Yetis, the cops would just stop me, and they're basically just they're trying to shake you, right? They're trying to shake you out of your money. They're trying to see like if you have some drugs on you. If you have drugs on you, then they want you to pay them off whatever you have on you, 50,000, 100,000 Colombian pesos or whatever. But that's what they're looking for. They didn't stop me because I was black. They stopped me because I was a foreigner and I was more likely to be doing drugs or illegal activity in which they could make money off of.
Awesome. Great breakdown there, brother. Fantastic, fantastic. Um, so I want you to touch upon before we go on to the woman part, right? I want you to touch upon like how deep the class system there is in Colombia. So obviously, as we as Western black men, we're looking at Colombia from the outside in. So we bring our dollars in. We're living good lives there as foreigners. So as a black
Yeah.
Westerner, we don't really experience what black Colombians go through. Um, so obviously, when we as black men go to Colombia, we have certain privileges there. And does that mean that because we're not black Colombian, we're treated differently and we're actually more aligned with the elitist class in Colombia with our dollars? Or are we packed in with the black Colombians there? How deep is this class system, bro? And where do we tie in as black men who are Western?
So from what I remember, and the guy, I think that you'll be. I don't know if you guys have it locked in, but one of the things I remembered was, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't deal with this specifically, so that's why I don't know if I can be the best person to ask on this. But one
Mm.
of the things that my black friends would notice is that when they would go out to an event, um, they were not allowed to go into these events. Now, this a lot of times this wasn't in like Poblado or in those areas because they were going out to to the outskirts and all that stuff. So they were less likely to see tourists, and they would not be allowed to go into a place until that person heard their American accent, right?
Damn.
Yeah. So that has happened. That has happened a couple times. Um, like I said, what I've kind of come to find is that they just didn't deal with a lot of black people who had money there. And if I were to kind of put it that way, that's the best way I would put it. But yeah, there are a lot more classes there. Me and my girlfriend ended up getting in a fight one time because of some crazy stuff that you said. Um, but what I've kind of come to see is just that they don't have that much experience with black people in general. It is pretty segregated society. Not to say that that's going to be like the worst thing, but like once they find out that you're a foreigner, that kind of goes pretty far, right? They're able to kind of classify you in this kind of a as this type of a person as opposed to what they've seen.
Awesome. Great breakdown there, bro. Where was your girlfriend from? Was she white Colombian?
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was white Colombian.
Okay, awesome, bro. Brothers, can we get the likes up, please, to at least 100? We have over 100 people watching, so can we get up to at least 100 likes? That'd be greatly appreciated. Support the movement. Hit the cash app, hit the super chats too. Join that Patreon for more exclusive intel coming on the way. I've got some big videos coming on the Patreon diamond tier, so make sure you join that. Cop the tea. Thomas, can you post a link to the official international passport merch? It's selling out very quickly. The hoodie is becoming very popular, so get your hoodie, get your shirt if you're checking for brother's shirt, and support the movement. Okay. Shout out to Mr. KW Leaves America for the $499 super chat. Thank you for the support, bro. He says, found me a nice Thai woman from Bangkok in my grad school program. Flames. Happy for you, bro. We need to speak about that, brother. I hope she's feminine, fit, submissive, and cooperative. And we'll get some intel from you about that, brother, in the future. Thank you, bro. Much love to my brother, KW. So, brother, next question for you now is regards to the woman, which is what the brothers are probably here for.
Yeah,
So my first question to you, brother, is: are Colombian women checking heavy for brothers?
that's a question for. I think you should ask for that guy for Mr. Chapman. Um, my experience is just a lot. It's going to be a lot different. A lot of places that I went, they're checking heavy for me, right? So it's hard for me to sit there and say like, because I was black or because I was any of this. Like I said, I think that's how we got connected in the first place. I noticed that somebody actually said that they were checking heavy for me when I was in Sweden, but that's not it. That's not. This is not a Swedish video. However, once you're able to speak and kind of say and let them know that you're American, there is that exotic nature, right? So anytime you kind of go there and you're a black American and then you're well put together, you're gonna do pretty well.
That's fantastic, bro. And my next question for you, brother, is the women in Medellin, right, Colombia, right, are they fit, feminine, cooperative, and key point, brother, submissive? Can we get that kind of woman in Medellin, Colombia, bro?
The short answer is yes. The long answer is yes, and the very long answer is double yes. Right. So one of the things that you'll like about that place is they put a lot of value into their looks. I have no clue. I have no clue. I still haven't figured out why there's that much of a concentration of beautiful women in one place. And what you end up finding out is because it's so competitive there. One of the things I really liked about there is that if you go and approach somebody, um, and they could be a nine or 10 or whatever, you'll get an interaction that you'll be okay with, right? If they're not interested, they might it might exchange phone numbers, it might never pick up, but there will never be a situation in which they make you feel bad, right? I think one of the reasons why is because I'd like to give them a lot of credit as a people. They're really nice people. The Colombian people are very engaging. They're very nice. They're happy that you're there. They're just happy people in general. So that's number one. Like I'd like to give them credit. Two, she can't afford to do that, right? A girl here, like San Diego's a little bit different because there's a lot of beautiful women here, but a girl like maybe at the club that you go to, she might be like the only 9 or 10 there, right? So she can say like she can kind of treat you a certain type of way, um, because she's just whatever. Right? I don't adhere to that, but so that's one of the things that I did notice. They do put a lot into their looks, right? They have beautiful long flowing black hair. A lot of times goes down to the middle of their back, not the middle of their back, but their waistline, right? Um, they in terms of submissiveness. So one of the first things I noticed that is before me and my girlfriend were dating, um, we kind of done our thing. Woke up the next day and she had cooked breakfast for me, right? I
Wow.
thought for sure, like I was like, oh, this girl really likes me, right? I was like, oh, I'm nabbed when I got, oh man, I must put it down last night. Like this is, oh, you still got it, right? One of those things. But I kind of ended up coming to find out, right? But that they always do that. That's just their culture, right? They want to take care of their men. They want to do nice things. They want to, cook for you and be feminine for you. So like the whole you're not going to get that masculinity that a lot of times you get from the hardened state of Western women. And before I kind of put this out there, I'm not bashing Western women. I've had a lot of great experiences with them, a lot of great experiences with them. To me, there's one of the things that I do like about Western women is that. So I can't even think of anything. However, I'm joking, but one of the things you'd get that femininity, you would get the submissiveness. Um, I would say that it was a lot more. It was a lot more traditional. Although I actually had a girlfriend that I think was a little bit more liberal. However, even though she was more liberal, she did a lot of traditional things because of the culture.
Fantastic, brother. And what's your advice to brothers as to where to go to in Medellin to meet, respectable women? Do you advise brothers to use dating apps, to cold approach, go to the parks, go to parties?
No. So the best way, and this is going to be for people who are going to be there for a longer term, the best way is through like social proof, right? Through building a network of people, through building a group of friends. They're more old fashioned in that way, right? So to give you an example, here in the States, man, like you could kind of just go out, meet a random girl, and then go out and do your thing, right? You might introduce yourself to a group or whatever, um, and take a girl back or whatever, what have you. There, they go out in groups and they kind of stay in those groups, right? So if you're going to meet somebody, you would meet that person because they knew somebody in that group and then they introduce you. So it's kind of like the old fashioned way, which I actually like a lot better, right? So that's honestly the best way if you're going to be there for any period of time, is to start setting your roots down and meeting people through friends of friends, which is, to me, I think is the best way. I I'm the wrong person to ask about apps. There's Colombian Cupid. Tinder does work. Um, excuse me, they do use Tinder out there. I have this. I'm against apps, online dating apps, so I don't want to really speak on that. However, one of the things that you will see that I do want to give you guys this warning is that there is escapolamina there, right? Which is basically kind of like a date rape drug, except it works differently than it does here in the States. Escapolamina, the way that works is typically they'll put it in your drink, and then you're in this, you're unaware of your surroundings, you're unaware of what happens, but you're kind of like in this suggestive stage, right? So when you're in this suggestive stage, um, you might go to the ATM and then just empty out your bank account and then just hand her the money, right? You're very highly influenced, but you have no clue what's going on. What ends up happening is you end up waking up a day and a half, two days later, and then all of your stuff is gone, right? A lot of that stuff happens from the dating apps. Most of that stuff happens from the dating apps. So I would highly suggest that, like I said, you guys go onto those Facebook groups, the Medellin Gringos, Medellin expats, and then look at those stories, because there's a story like every other day of, oh man, well, let me warn you guys, I met this girl from an app, and then all of a sudden I woke up 2 days later. One guy got all their crypto stolen, so it was like 60 grand. So
Wow.
be aware of that specific thing, because if you guys go out there getting on those apps, um, on the dating apps, that can happen, right? So I do have to give that warning. The um, I would say a good way, day game. So we come back to the emergence of day game, right? Day game, you'll see a 9 or 10 at the grocery store, right? And I mean working as a cashier at the grocery store. You'll see a 9 or 10 working at well, hair salons, of course, but like walking down the street, and they're very accessible, right? And they will be receptive, if you approach them and speak to them there. So you get a lot of times, a lot of people go out there and use a news date game. Going out at night, like I can never say you can't, right? Because there's always a possibility that you can. But going out at night and then trying to pick up that way, like I said, you a lot of times you run into the guys in that group, right? So it's like, all right, you start talking to them, and then a lot of times one of the guys will like the girl, he hasn't told her yet, so then there's blocking in that way. So I would say going out with a group of friends and trying to kind of go that way. The language exchange. What were other ways? I met my girl at the gym. I like the long-term gym game. I would say, yeah, I'd say those are pretty good ways. But if you're gonna do the whole app thing, man, you get what you get. You're not gonna get the highest quality girls on there.
Great breakdown there, bro.
Yeah.
So I've got
and then in addition to that, if you do get dates or whatever, a lot of times people will set up 2 or 3 dates because they'll flake on you a lot. So a lot of times people will just like have it set up because then they know if they set up like 2 or 3, then one will show up, if that.
Awesome, bro. Thank you, brother. So, brother, I've got a couple of questions about the woman before we open up the phone lines. Next question, brother, is we know that Colombian women are very beautiful, right? So let's just say, brother, you bag a beautiful Colombian girlfriend, right? She's yours, but she goes out herself. There's obviously, guys approaching her too. How loyal are Colombian women? When you tell her no guy friends, no male friends, when a guy approaches you, don't give him nothing, will she listen to you? And because obviously there's so much attention, these beautiful women. She's your girlfriend. How did you work on that, bro? Telling her no male friends when a guy approaches you. How did you sort that out with her, bro?
So I can only really speak for the one that I had. The one that I had wanted me to know what was going on. So I mean, and I'm kind of person, I'm very laid back. Like I'm just not jealous at all. But like if somebody were to reach out to her via Facebook or like try and talk to her in real life, like she would always let me know, right? So she would say, "Oh, look at this person, reaching out to me on Facebook. This person tried to talk to me today." So she would always tell me the things that happened. So I was never really too worried about like what happened. So I really liked it that standard that she had set up. So I can only really speak to that my specific relationship, which I just won out there. So I actually really enjoyed that, and she had a really good family growing up. I don't think that she had been cheated on or anything like that in any of her relationships, so she didn't have that baggage coming in. So we were very trusting of each other.
What about male friends? Did you outlaw that? No male friends. Absolutely no male friends.
No, I didn't. And now, kind of being different from when I was at that time, I saw her male friends, and I was like, "You're good." So, I mean, she was an architect, so a lot of the guys there were like super nerdy. So there was one like male friend that she had that I was like, whatever. They would have, they would meet up for architectural related stuff, and I didn't. I was just like if you cheat on me with that, then there's there's a lot to say about that. So, I would say that was a one instance in which that she had a friend in which I didn't really mind her going to meet up with him.
Okay, awesome, bro. So, brother, what's your advice for brothers as to how to handle a Colombian woman and keep her on your plan, right? Because let me tell you this, brother, why I asked this question.
Sure.
A brother moves to Colombia. He's dating his first foreign woman ever. She's beautiful. She's a complete opposite of a Western woman. What's your advice to brother to keep her to have her on your plan? How do you date and deal with a Colombian woman as opposed to having an American girlfriend, brother?
Well, so one of the first things that you have to kind of notice is dating is a lot different there than here. And I made the mistake of using American standards in Colombia, right? For example, and actually it's a lot easier too, man. If you think about it, like the stuff that we do here in America is ridiculous. Actually, I mean, dating is more complicated. You have things called situationships, and are we this or are we that? One of the things that's actually kind of ridiculous. Actually, kind of thinking about it, is the fact that um, you have to define what your relationship is, right? You have to say you had to sit down here in America, right? Because you can kind of get away with stuff because you like, well, we weren't going out, right? We didn't sit down and have the talk that are you my girlfriend, are you my boyfriend, whatever. That's kind of BS if you think about it, because basically what had happened was I was kind of dealing with her, and then we were hooked up a few times, and then I was like, hey, listen, I want to focus on my poker. I just don't want to be in a relationship at this time. And then we ended up re-engaging like maybe 5 or 6 months later, and we sat down, and she was just like, oh, I was so emotional. She's like, I didn't, you're my boyfriend, and you just kind of just tossed me to the side, and I was like, I wasn't your boyfriend, right? And she was like, no, what are you talking about? You like we were dating, we were going out. And I didn't really realize this until actually years later, because like if you're dating somebody there, if you're hooking up with somebody there, like you guys are together, right? They're not talking to six other people. They're not trying to weigh their options. They're not trying. And I'm not saying that like everybody's like this, but there's a decent majority of the women out there that are like that, right? That are say, hey, listen, if I'm with this one guy, we're it basically you're dating, you're in a relationship. And I started noticing this when I talk to girls from like France or whatever, and they come over to the United States and just get blown away at how complicated things are. And if you think about it, like we're the ones that are messed up, right? Because it's like, all right, well, um, if you're talking with somebody, if you're dealing with somebody, like it's just like you're dealing with that person. Now, do you have to slowly let this person go, and then you're spinning plates, and then this person goes? Because we've had to come up with all these different crazy things because dating is so ridiculous in the United States. So that was one of the things that I noticed, is that you have to understand that dating is different there, and then not apply where the logic from where you're from to Colombia. Know how they kind of handle dating, and kind of use that. So just be aware that a lot of times you're not going to have to, you can kind of let the relationship play out, right? Here in America, it's just like, all right, she might be dating this other person, and this other person, there might be another person in the picture. There, it's just you can be a little bit more relaxed because this is the person that you're going to be with, and then just basically kind of employ long-term dating strategies to that situation. Maintaining frame, and one of the things that is really good is the fact that you're able to um, take care of the women there, right? So if you're making $50,000 a year, like I said here, and you bring that there, all of a sudden that becomes 200,000, 250,000, right? I wouldn't say like don't split don't do the whole 50-50 thing, right? Like if you're coming over there, you have enough money to pay for things, right? So don't think that that's like a big deal, like, oh, like, well, she's getting over on you or whatever. A lot of times, you're paying for a cab for her to come see you from far out place, and it's like $7, right? And you're like, whatever, right? $6. So I would just say that understand that the rules are different, um, that they want you to succeed, right? If they like you, they're not. A lot of times, of course, all girls are going to put up S tests, but they want you to succeed. They want to like you. They want to have a good relationship with you.
That's awesome. Thank you, brother. Fantastic. Great breakdown there, brother. So in Medellin, Colombia, brother, what's the breakdown of the race of women there? Is it mostly the white Colombian women? Can we find mixed race, half black women there? Can we find black women there? Who are we most likely to meet out there in terms of women, bro?
So it depends on where you stay. It depends on where you stay. in the Poblado area, you're gonna see like that lighter skin Colombian woman. If you kind of go off to there's a city where there's a lot of black Colombians, but they're not. So then that's what you're gonna have to kind of give up, right? Like if you're gonna go out and meet black Colombian women, it's gonna be at clubs and it's gonna be at establishments that are outside of where you're at typically. So where I was at is like the lighter skin. There are other places, but you're gonna have to travel a little bit to get there. But like I said, that's really the real difference, man. Is this pretty segregated. The nicer areas, it's not like the United States, or it's not like London, where you have pockets of black people, or you have black people kind of intermingled in a whole bunch of other different nationalities. There's Poblado, there's nice places, and then the only black people that are working, the only black people that are there are the ones working there. With the caveat that things may have changed since 2017, which is the last time I was there. So this is speaking on the time that I was there.
Awesome. Thank you, bro. Awesome. So, brother, would you say, right, when you're out there, brothers can find a wife there, a Colombian wife, particularly a wife that's, a virgin or has a low body count? Or is that impossible to find that kind of woman there?
Yeah. So one of the great things about there is, like I said, there's a few things that kind of keep them honest in those regards. One, Catholicism, right? Their adherence to trying to kind of follow that specific religion. Two, the fact that, I mean, can you imagine a girl with an 80 body count living with her dad?
Jesus. Nope.
No, it doesn't happen, right? But in the United States, it's like, all right, they get their own apartment, and they're often, they're off doing their own thing, and a lot of times they're not coming home. So, so that's another one. So that's two. Is it the fact that they're still living with their family? Three is it's just like it's not like it. There's not that type of a quote unquote liberation in those places, right? So they understand that their value is determined by how many people, not determined, but is a component of how many people they've been with. So that it's not that type of a culture. So you'll get people who are 23 years old with two people, 23 years old with one person, I wouldn't say necessarily a virgin, but like a very manageable amount, right? Like here in the United States, I was listening to this podcast the other day where they're talking about, all right, well, I think that an amount that would be good for me to go into a relationship is like less than 10 or whatever, because that's what we're used to in the United States, right? And I'm thinking that, like, I think a lot of ladies are probably looking at that and laughing. They're like 10. They're like, that's what I had in 6 months, right?
Wow.
So you will get that, and I think a lot of it is because they're living with their parents. It's the religion. It's because it's just not that type of culture to where they're out and about like that. One of the things that you will get too is you will be able to date and marry a better looking girl than you're eligible for wherever you're at. One, because like I said, there's just more of them, right? But two, that financial component that you're bringing allows you to get a higher quality girl. But three, like I said, they take care of themselves a little bit better. So she's going to be a little bit more fit over the course of you guys' relationship. Because what I've seen out there, I have friends. This one guy, he was a tennis player. He's 5'7", all right looking, right? Married a beautiful girl, right? So other guy wouldn't be able to lock down a girl here in the States. I would say based off of his looks. Married, I would say she was a very cute girl. And to be honest, like when I first got there, I was just like, oh, a lot of these guys just aren't able to get girls in the States or whatever. But I think what happened was maybe was some of that, but I've started to see like a lot of good looking guys that are just saying, hey, I'm in this, and this is what I'm doing, right? I'm in this to the end. Like I need to have a wife who is not gonna who's not gonna divorce me. And what I've decided to do is take a look at in terms of like I equate divorce with death, right? To me, it's that serious. Like I want to for my kids to be raised by me and my wife, and we're gonna get to the end of time, right? One of the great things about Colombia is they have a zero point 0.7 is the rate at which the divorce is extremely low, right? So you go from America, where it's the top 10 in the world, right? Depending on the metrics that you're looking at in terms of divorce rate, to Colombia, which is the bottom 10 in the world, right? They stay together. That is so important to me that in and of itself is it will lead me to go there, right? So they stay together. Um, you're going to get a lot more of a higher quality woman in terms of her playing her traditional role, as long as you are playing yours, right? Um, but I would say the thing that you're going to have to give up a little bit is personality, right? A lot of the girls there, I was kind of lucky because I dated a girl who had traveled, who she ended up getting like a scholarship for like architect to study in Germany. But she had traveled abroad, so we had a lot of different things to talk about. Like I used to love talking to her. My friends would come up to like, hey man, like how do I get a girl like that? Because a lot of them like the same things, right? A lot of them they'll say, I like cine, which is like films. I like to dance, and I family, right? It's like those three things is like the common things is like the stock issued girl there. So I would say that they kind of lose out a little bit in personality, and that's why I would give like American girls in my book a credit. However, I'll give up on personality so I can get to the end of my life with the same woman so that we can raise our kids together. Because I think it's asinine that we take a look at the death rate, right? Like I said, death equals divorce. It's asinine that we take a look at the death rate, say it's over 50%, and then people just jump in there, right? Like that's insane, right? As a product of divorce, I've seen what the impact it's had on families. Um, and I need to do what I need to do as a man and as a father. I'm not a father, right? I'm not a husband yet, but I'm putting myself in the best situation to put my family in the best situation to succeed.
Yeah, that's wonderful, brother. That's wonderful. And on that note, I'm gonna end my segment there. Thank you very much for that great breakdown in life in Colombia, breaking down women for us, and everything else, brother. I really appreciate it, bro. So I'm gonna
Appreciate it.
open up the phone lines. So when you call in, please be respectful to our guests, or you will be punished for it. And of course, brothers, make sure you support the channel. If you have any questions and you can't call in, you must cash app and super chat your questions for our guests to answer. And brothers, make sure that you support the channel as well. I posted my social media platforms on there, and of course, how you can donate to the channel. Cop the merch, hit the super chats, hit the cash app, join the Patreon Diamond tier. I'll be
Hey,
dropping.
IP, do you mind if I say something real quick?
Hold on, bro.
Go ahead.
I'll be dropping a very explosive video about Japan this week and then Australia next week. It's gonna blow your mind, brothers. All right, I've got 2 hours, 30 minutes on Japan and 1 hour, 30 minutes on the real Australia. It's crazy out there in these countries, bro. And I'm trying to get you brothers prepared when you get that passport, when you travel, you have everything you need to know at your disposal. Go on, bro.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to make sure that you guys do is be aware of your surroundings. Be aware that this is a different culture than where you come from. A lot of times, I like to kind of bash Americans a little bit because we're very loud, right? And we don't understand that we're loud. So then when you go out and eat, you can always tell who the Americans are because they're the ones talking like this, and we're the ones with the loud voices. But it's not something that we understand that we're doing. Like I said, as a class of society, they kind of want you to upkeep on what you're wearing. So when you're there, wear nice clothes. They can't stand it when you're wearing, sandals and all that stuff. But just be a good representation of where you're coming from, right? Because what you want to do, like the best thing that we can have happen, is for us to get out there and for us to make a good name for Black Americans, right? For us to make a good name for Americans, so that once they see that we're from America, they say, oh, okay, I've had really good experiences with such and such a person. This is cool, right? And so I think that will help us out in the long run, because I think what's going to eventually end up happening is people are going to have to move overseas, right? I'm taking a look at this whole inflation, and taking a look at how much people need for retirement. My family, it's not my family, my parents and our parents are already not really able to retire in the United States the way they want to. A lot of them have already moved to Costa Rica, and they have money, right? They have 6, 7, 800,000, $1 million plus, and they have pensions, and they're getting consistent monthly income. And they're like, hey, I need to leave. What's going to end up happening, man, is I think that over the course of time, people are going to see that they don't have enough money to retire in their country, and so you'll start to see a lot of people move. And if you have made a good name for ourselves before we get there, then it won't be as bad, because we're already starting to see the consequences of us moving to other countries. If you take a look, Mexico City, they're telling us to leave, right? A lot of Californians went down there because they're like, hey, it's a lower cost of living. Puerto Rico, a lot of crypto bros, a lot of crypto people went there because of the tax advantages. They're already calling them colonizers, right? It's only going to get worse. So if you want for us to have a more enjoyable time while we're there, you need to be respectable, and you need to understand that you're representing our country, and that we might be there for a longer period of time than what we are there now. So,
oh man, that was a great breakdown there, bro. I've got a follow-up question from what you said about dressing. So, bro, obviously Colombia is a hot country year round predominantly, and what?
You're cutting out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Am I? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me get closer to my mic. So, brother, obviously Colombia is a hot country predominantly. So,
what country?
Hot country, hot.
Sure.
So humid, right? So, brother, I want you to break down for me, right? What do we wear? So obviously we want to come out presentable. We don't want to wear G-Unit sneakers, Sean John jeans, all that nonsense, right? We want to come there correct. So in the daytime, bro, what do we wear? Okay. In the nighttime, what do we wear? When we go out, when we go out on dates, what do we wear? And when we go to high value functions where there's high value people, what do we wear, bro? Without us sticking out too much. I know Colombia is still kind of dangerous. A lot of armed robberies there. So we want to look good, but not stick out too much where we're not targeted. Break it down for me, bro.
So I would say more of like a business casual, which is kind of funky because so it's 60, 85 degrees year round there. You'll never see Colombian wearing shorts, right? So you'll see them either wearing, the nicest jeans that they have, or maybe some type of slacks or whatever. When you're going out, just like you're a nice shirt, like this. I mean, you would wear something like this, like on a given day, right? So this might be something that you walk around in. But I'd say the best thing would be maybe like business casual, but leave like the sports gear, unless there's a couple cats out there playing basketball. There's actually this one dude who can really get up, but anyways, unless you're playing basketball or anything like that, like I would say like wear longer, like your slacks and jeans and all that stuff. They don't wear shorts out there like at all.
Oh, they don't wear shorts. Interesting. Okay. Awesome.
Like I said, things can change. I just remember seeing that like one out specifically, I was the only one ever in sweats, right? But yeah, I would say probably wear business professional.
Can you wear a vest out there, bro?
A vest?
Yes.
And nothing else?
Oh no, of course, bro. A vest is like. a vest and jeans, bro.
You should try that.
Hey, this brother's coming out with a vest with no boxers and no pants. Come on, bro.
Hey, hey, I'm sure you get some content from that.
Oh no, God no. So like a vest and jeans, a vest and three-quarter jeans and all that stuff. Is that acceptable?
Sure. I mean, I don't really wear vests. And then you might want to take a look at that. It might be a little too hot for that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't remember seeing a vest.
Okay, thank you, bro. Awesome. And before I bring in Joe in, right, I want to pinpoint on the point where the brother said it's getting, a bit too expensive in America. When brothers read books and you see the world for what it is, right, the way the world is built, there's a reason why certain countries are not as rich as America. Okay, America is literally a corporation. You're there to make as much money as you can, and the smart people, right, the people who actually are well read, they know that they have to go to lower cost of living there to enjoy the true rounds of the wealth. But people won't tell you that. And that's the reason why certain countries are kept very poor and America keeps getting richer and richer. That is a game right now, brothers. This has all been set up, before we were born. And that's the way the powers that be have made the system work, you know? So the smart people are retiring in these cheaper countries to enjoy their wealth because they understand that America is literally a wealth creating machine, and to benefit from the wealth you've made, so inflation doesn't chew up your money and etc. etc. You gotta go to these countries, bro. And that's what I'm telling you, brothers. Get your passports, get into IT, join the Patreon diamond tier. Let me mentor you. The Patreon is going off the charts, man. I've got consultation calls literally every day, man. Brothers want to get into IT. So if you're serious about getting into IT and making that money that will help you remote work anywhere around the world, save, enjoy life, meet foreign women, IT is the best industry for that, man. So awesome, awesome stream. Thank you so much, brother. Let me bring in Mr. Joe.
Yeah.
How you doing, Joe? You okay, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Epi?
I'm doing fantastic, brother. How are you?
I'm good, good. I'm glad you said that about the corporation part. I think a lot of people don't really get that with America, but that's exactly what it is. Like the whole work-life balance, the whole people working too hard, like they want to get their money and get out or do what they really want to do, get that financial freedom. So I'm glad you hit the nail right on the head with that one too.
Hey, thank you, bro. In my free time, bro, I'm reading, man. A lot of brothers feel I just think about girls all day. I'm reading every day, bro. I'm getting this knowledge, bro. So thanks for the kind words, Joe. So, Joe, what's your questions for our guests here regarding Colombia, brother?
Yeah, you said you were there 2019 or go ahead.
Around 2014, end of 2014 to like 2017 ish.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's okay. Yeah, I feel like a little bit has changed since the pandemic. Like the whole city kind of shut down, or Medellin shut down for a little bit, and then
I
kind of
saw
bounced
that.
back. But it's similar, but I think a few things have changed since
Okay.
I've been there like twice this year already. But it's
What
quite the
would you
city.
say? I guess when was the first time you went?
The first time I went there was 2018 for Valentine's Day, and then I went there twice this year in March, and then I just went back in August. And then, yeah, it's lit. I mean, everything you said was pretty spot on, but the scoping thing I think is probably the biggest thing that a lot of dudes got to watch out for. Like two of my boys, they typical American guys had no idea what they were walking into. Met two girls on Tinder, and my rule of thumb is if you know you're like a 5 and you match with a 9 and she's down to meet that same night, I mean,
Yep.
either it's your lucky day or she's trying to do something. And of course, both of them got drugged and they lost their cell phones and like a couple $100 too. So you gotta be careful out there.
And I mean, really what it is it's kind of experience, right? Because it's like I'm sure would probably tell you that they had, is way worse than being drunk. It's just like lights out. You have no clue what's going on. And then you're out for the count. You're out for quite a while. So a lot of people feel very violated. A lot of people, for like the next couple of days feel kind of hazy and all that stuff. So, hopefully there, a couple $100 and a cell phone is a learning lesson and it's not your life, which has happened to people before. So, but I think you're right, man. Just alerting people to the fact that it works the opposite way around, right? It's like you hear people, drugging women, right, in the Western or whatever with the date or drug, there it's like they'll use that to drug men and then take advantage of them and take their stuff.
Exactly.
Can I ask this real quick, right? So the brothers who are getting drugged, right? Are they meeting this woman at a bar, or are they bringing the woman over to their place and the woman slips the drug in their drink,
Sometimes
and then
it's
they drink
both.
it at the same place in the house? Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's
Ah,
like you'll be at a nightclub and you see like a cute girl and she's down to come to your place and you fix her a drink and you look over for 1 second, she puts something in there and you look over and you drink and next thing you know you don't remember the next 3 days and your wallet's gone. Sometimes it's like
okay.
I'm on Tinder and I meet a girl and they said the red flag is usually if she's down to come over like within a couple hours of meeting you is like a red flag. And it also depends, like, what kind of vibes you're on. Like, if you go there and your intentions is just to fuck as much as possible, or sorry, sleep
Language.
as much as possible, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. So, but
Okay.
you just gotta be careful. Like, just be smart about it. Don't do anything stupid.
Well, I think being smart about it is just knowing about it in the first place, because
Exactly.
that's something that when we go out, that's just never a thing, right? Like you're not concerned about being drugged at all, So just knowing that that's a possibility, and it's a real possibility. It's still rare, but it is something that you have to be conscious of.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I've got two follow-up questions there. So regarding this drug, right? When you put the drug in the drink, is it white and does it make bubbles and is that how you know that okay, there's something in there?
Is it like the movies?
Is it like the movies? And second question is, do bartenders also play this game as well? Are they also drugging people, the bartenders making drinks for the tourists? That's a big thing there. So two questions for you, brothers, to answer for me.
So I don't know not the logistics. I don't know the science behind the escapolamina. Like I don't know what that looks like. I think it's just a situation, right? It's like, all right, if you go out and you meet a girl and she's by herself, right? They go out in friends, they go out in packs, right? If she's by herself and then you approach or she approaches you, or if it feels a little too easy, you gotta take a look at that. Either this is a pro or this could be a potentially shady situation. It's never going to be you just got lucky and then she just happened to be by herself. But like you're just gonna it's very rare that type of thing happens. What was the second question?
The
Second
bartenders.
question: are the bartenders also drugging American tourists? So it's basically, you go to a club, right? The bartender fixes your drink up for you. Are they also putting that drug in their drinks, and the guys are drinking that, and everyone's in on it? The women and certain shady people.
Not that I've heard of.
Okay. Whew. That's why I'm
Yeah.
not caring. What about you, Joe?
I was gonna say I don't know the smell or the color of it. I always say a rule of thumb is always watch a drink, even if whatever country you're in, whatever city you're in, just always watch a drink. Um, uh, but in terms of the bartender, the only thing I will say is the currency has changed quite a bit since last year. They had a new president come in. I think it was back in June, and the economy has totally shifted. The current president is more like a socialist, so the Colombian peso is at like 4,700 to $1 American. Like, for
Wow.
example, yeah, it's
Unbelievable.
crazy. Yeah,
Wow.
so the American dollar goes really far right now. But like, for example, when I went in 2018 or 2019, it was exactly 3,900 peso to $1. So
It
you can
was
see, like,
3,200 when I was there.
yeah, so it's like it's gone down, which means like your dollar goes further, so you can buy more like drinks. You can like, for example, an Uber. There's like a 15-minute Uber from my place to downtown would have cost me like $30 in the States. It was like $3 in Colombia, and like a fancy latte that I get here is like $7. Over there, it's like $1.50. So it's like you can definitely stretch that dollar. So definitely
And I
don't
would
be afraid
say
to pay for drinks for girls and
use
stuff.
Ubers too, because I have had friends who have been involved with like cabs who have gotten robbed, right? And sometimes the cabs will work together with people, and then all of a sudden they're being pulled over by somebody, and then all of a sudden they're having to like give up
Oh,
all their stuff. Um, But
So what do we
sometimes
what
we'll
so
see
what do we
after.
use out? What do we use out there, bro? Is it Uber, Lyft? Is that the best option to travel, or
I
train or
remember
bus?
Uber. I can't remember Lyft being out there, but it might be. But I used Uber.
Okay, so Uber is the safest options for brother to travel around Colombia or Medellin at least. Not bus, not train, just Uber.
Well, the thing with the buses and the trains, though, is I mean, like Ubers are cheap. Buses are like 10 cents. I mean, I can't remember if it's like that cheap, but they're super cheap. But you can still travel on the buses. Like I did every so often to get to like random places. Like if I was going up to where was I going? I used to volunteer up in this crazy area, and I would take the metro, and then we'd have to take the bus up the hill and all that stuff. So I haven't found that the buses were unsafe necessarily, but they're crowded.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Wow. Okay, that was a very good point there. Bro, safety is very important. Avoid cabs, Uber, and anything that's licensed that has oversee. Please take that. Thank you. So, any more questions, Joe? Before I bring in another caller.
Uh, yeah, I recommend Uber at night too. You can do a cab during the day, but cabs get very sketchy at night, especially if they think you've been drinking. Um, the only time you can't really avoid the cabs are at the airport when you first land. So what
Yeah.
I did was I switched my carrier to Google Fi, and you can use Google Fi. I think in any country, their data is basically unlimited. It uses like the local Colombian cell phone carrier plan, whatever. Like if you try to use like roaming AT&T, you're gonna get a huge bill when you go back to the States or UK, wherever you're from. But you can probably use that to use Uber from airports and save your data and all that stuff as well. But it just goes back to the whole papaya thing. Like, don't wear jewelry or fancy clothing or anything like ridiculous. Don't have like your iPhone 14 out, just taking selfies. You'll try to get your stuff robbed. So
Okay, Google Fi, huh? So is that Google Fi?
yeah, exactly. It's Google Fi.
That
It's
is, I haven't
actually
heard of that. I'm gonna look that up.
yeah, it's
That's
cheaper than like the regular unlimited plans. It's like it's only 3G in the States, but I never use it when I'm here. I just switch when I'm going over. I can cancel my current carrier and switch back when I come back. So it's super convenient. The voicemail feature is kind of weird, but for just streaming data, it's so perfect. I don't have to switch anything. It works exactly when I get there. It's perfect.
damn. It's only for US people. Come on, man. Show the UK brothers some love as well, man. We travel too.
You gotta love America, huh?
Oh man, hey, thank you, Joe. Great intel, bro. Thank you very much, man. So stay on the line, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Let me bring in Mr. Chad the Great. Okay, awesome. Put yourself on mute there, Joe. Let me bring in Chad. How you doing, Chad? You okay, brother?
It's good, man. How y'all doing tonight?
Chad, can you hear me, bro?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear him.
Oh, you can hear him.
Yeah.
Damn, what's going on? I can hear you. I can't hear Chad. What's going on there? It's weird. Chad, do you mind dropping off and calling back in, please, bro?
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't hear. Oh yeah, now I hear you, bro. Yes.
Yeah, I'm good, man. Y'all know I just came back from Colombia like 5 days ago, so
Damn. So you got the recent intel, man. Awesome, bro. Awesome. Welcome back, Chad.
yeah.
So, Chad, do you have any questions for our guests, or do you want to add to his discussion there from what you've heard so far?
I want to add to it. So basically in Colombia they use Uber or InDriver. InDriver is the other transportation app they use around. InDriver is actually a little bit better than Uber because there's been a lot of issues with Uber in Colombia. Like the taxi cab drivers, they're not getting their fair share like they are here in America. Uber is taking like a large percentage, and then also a lot of the older people that aren't licensed taxi cab drivers have been using Uber and taking away their customers, so they feel some type of way about it. So
Yeah, you have to do Uber differently out. Like you have to get into the front there because they want the. It needs to look like you're like a friend or something like that, not that they're picking you up.
yeah, so InDriver is actually cheaper than Uber if you guys want to do that. InDriver, you can get in and pay with your card, just like Uber, or if not, you can pay cash out of pocket instead of using your card. And then InDriver also allows you to negotiate the price you want to pay to the taxi driver.
Awesome. Is that InDriver, huh?
Yeah, InDriver is big. They're like Uber up for outside of America. They're big in the Caribbean, Central America, South America, Africa, Asia. They're like the Uber for outside of America. They're like the biggest drive company outside of America, pretty much.
Interesting. Are you saying like with InDriver, you can negotiate how you have to pay the driver, so it's not like a fixed fee.
No, you negotiate what you want to pay them.
So how do you do that, bro? Is that negotiating before the ride or after the ride? And how do you measure
before the ride? You put in a bid. So basically, for instance, like I was staying right outside the right by the tunnel that takes you from the airport to Medellin, because Medellin, the airport is in Rio Negro. So the airport it's about like a 25-minute ride to the city, but I was staying in Las Palmas, which is like right by the exit of the tunnel to the city. So going into like main El Poblado area, whatever, usually it depends on how busy it is, but they charge you anywhere between like 12 and 15 Colombian pesos, which is about maybe like about like $3 and change. On Uber, you can go on InDriver and negotiate maybe like 8 Colombian pesos, which is about like $2 flat.
Awesome.
So did they finish the tunnel?
Yeah. Actually, there's two. There's the main large tunnel, and then there's a small tunnel. As soon as you get out of the main tunnel, Colombia has the largest tunnel, or the longest tunnel in North and South America.
That's pretty cool. They had just started that before I left, so that's pretty cool that they'd finish it now.
Yeah, the only thing that sucks about it is one lane in, one lane out. That's the only thing that sucks.
Okay, so I have a question for all of you who's been to Colombia. Would you say that brothers should, obviously, if you're not going to live there, should brothers go in a group there to Colombia for safety, or simply going alone is okay, but you have to watch your back very, very well?
I've been going to Colombia by myself for 2 years, man. It's not. I mean, it's good to go in a group to have stuff to do with people, but you don't necessarily have to go with people. It's just like going anywhere else. You got to be precautious. And just be safe and not do anything stupid. Besides that, everybody in Colombia is pretty cool, man. It's not like that Pablo Escobar days, and the only people that are really looking to like do anything crazy to you is like the escorts, whatever. That's really like trying to rob you, get money out of you. Besides that, it's been pretty chill.
So you're going during the pandemic?
And
yeah, that's when I started going.
Okay. And how is this your? How is this in comparison to other places you've been?
I mean, I've been to about like 8-9 countries, but Colombia's my favorite so far. Colombia and Brazil.
Yeah, mine too.
I love Brazil, man. It's just different, but Colombia's nice. I've been there like 5 or 6 times yet so far.
Okay.
So it's been pretty chill, man. Main cities I've been to is Cartagena and Medellin, but I'm trying to like branch out and go to like Santa Marta, Bucaramanga, Cali sometime next year.
Yeah,
Cali's dope.
So I went to Cali too, and maybe I went to the wrong parts, but I was very disappointed.
I like their weather. That was the first time I tried salsa, so that was pretty cool. And I actually found the Black Colombians there to be very, very pretty. So that was my 3 days there.
Yeah, to answer your question, you could definitely go solo as long as don't act a fool and don't do anything stupid. They do have the language exchange. I think you were talking about that earlier. It's every Tuesday at I forgot the name of the bar. It's like Vintrash, and it's a good place to like learn Spanish, but also meet other people. Like for example, I met these girls from Germany actually that were down there. We exchanged contact info. Met a bunch of dudes from like Europe. I hooked up with a couple girls from Lithuania when I was there last time. So there's plenty of opportunity there. Just be social. I feel like once they know you're American or you're from the UK, speak English, then it's basically a wrap.
How do you spell that place that you mentioned, Joe, to meet people?
Vin Trash, VIN Trash, no space.
Actually, I think it's with a W though.
Is it? Yeah, it's right downtown Poblado in like the super touristy area. But if you go Tuesday, yeah, I think it's the
That's a lie. It looks like
the V, right?
Yeah, it's V.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Vin Trash.
Vin
But
Trash.
it's no space though.
Okay.
And it's Tuesday at 8, and basically all you do is just buy a beer. I think there's no cover charge. Yeah, exactly. No cover charge. And almost everyone there is either a Colombian who speaks English and trying to learn more English, someone from Europe, or someone from like America who wants to socialize, and very chill. You can easily go there. That's where all the hostels are. So it's definitely a good place. But we were talking about loyalty earlier, and I gotta say, these girls are not loyal.
Hold on, bro. Before we go on there, bro, is Vin Trash, is that all over Colombia or only in Medellin?
There's only one spot. It's right downtown.
In Medellin.
Yeah, it's right by Yedis Park, but it's not technically in Yedis Park.
Vin Trash. Okay, thank you, bro. So what you were saying about loyalty?
Yeah, these girls are not loyal, man. If you want like a really attractive girl who's loyal, you got to go to the suburbs or just a little bit outside the city. If you go into the city, trying to approach a girl who's like a solid 9, thinking you're gonna lock her down, she's gonna be loyal to you and only you, then you got nothing coming. I was at the language exchange and we met these 2 girls and we were talking to them. And we're like, oh yeah, let's exchange numbers and go for drinks. She's like, yeah, I'm down. And then my other boy, he got one of them to come back to his place. And then we found out they both have boyfriends in the States.
Wow.
So basically, if you just have money and I don't know, you have gringo vibes, then she's single for you.
That's facts.
Yeah, and don't be that guy too who sends them money, dude. They'll. Yeah, I've seen them at cafes before, just getting money from dudes in the States and send them like $500-$600 a month, and then they'll share that with their boyfriends. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I found a good girl. Like I said, there's a big difference though, man. If you gotta learn the language, because you gotta understand, you gotta think, are they taking you that seriously if you don't speak Spanish at a decent rate? So that's what I would say about that. But you're right. It is more that machismo culture. So I mean, my friends, with my girlfriend or my ex-girlfriend and her friends, I mean, they were just cheating on each other left and right. So it's kind of like there is a little bit of that in the culture. So
yeah, for sure.
The thing is with the big cities in Colombia is if you want to find like a great girl, you got to go outside of the tourist area, go outside of the big city. Like Medellin, you want to go to like Sabaneta or Bello or Rio Negro or one of the smallest cities around, because I mean, a lot of the girls that are in the main city, they have internet just like we do. They have TV just like we do. They see what's going on in America. So they kind of pick up some of those ways, but they're not necessarily like acting like Americans. They just pick up a little bit of the ways. And then there is feminism going on in some of the cities, but I did like this whole interview with one of the tour guide. He said it's not the same feminism like it is in America. The feminism, the woman in like Medellin and a couple other cities are experiencing is they really just want to write the work and to make some of their own decisions. They don't really have that feminism where they want to like bash men and say men ain't ish and so on and so forth. Their feminism is kind of like the first wave feminism that happened in America in like the 1920s.
Make their own decisions, like what?
Just to write the work. Pretty much making their own like daily decisions on what they want to do, who they want to hang out with, so on and so forth. Because outside of America or outside of the West, it's still based on like family and a covenant where I'm sorry that your guest was speaking earlier, where the girl lives with her family until she's ready to get married and move out and so on and so forth. A lot of them want to move out at like 19, 29 to get their own apartment if they can afford it, or if not, go to college, or if not, some of them want to like travel. They don't necessarily want to move to America. Some of them just want to see it. But I hear a lot of girls saying they want to go to like Europe or go to Asia, so on and so forth.
Interesting. You want to say something still, Bill?
Yeah. I know that I would say that my girlfriend at that point in time was like, that was kind of like the first iteration of that. That's a good point, because like I said, there's she still treated me well and all that stuff that I got a lot of treatment that you don't get in the United States. However, she wanted to split things 50-50. I wasn't so keen on like having a family at that point in time, but she was like, I'm like 20% want to have kids, right? I don't really want to get married. So at that time, I didn't care. It was in like my lower 30s, so it wasn't a big deal to me. But that was actually very rare back then, and so I'm assuming that it's probably kind of this is like a virus. It just spreads.
How old is she? How old was she back then, bro? Your girlfriend? I mean,
23.
Oh, okay. Good gap. I like that, bro. Very young woman. That's what I care about. 18 to 23.
Just the perfect age for. I think I was 31, 32, something like that.
That's why I love hearing, man. Beautiful. Awesome. So, brother, we have 10 more minutes in this live stream, brother. The brother's only here for 2 hours, so you have 10 minutes to call in, or at least cash up and super chat your questions. I want to say thank you to our guests for taking the time out. And brothers, tonight's been quiet. I don't know what's happening in America, but we have over 100 people. But y'all not talking in the live stream chat. Y'all shy or something? What's going on today? Is it some sort of big event? But try and contribute more to the live stream chat, brothers. Hit the cash app, hit the super chats as well. Support the movement. It's a bit of a quiet night, which is a bit weird for the channel. But I hope you brothers are good. So press a 2 in the chat if you're here with me, man. Because y'all been quiet all night, and I'm a bit worried, man. It's just a bit strange, but it's all good, man. It's all good. But press a 2 in the chat if you can hear me. What was that still, Bill?
Oh no! If nobody say anything, I mean, what would you guys think? Would you guys go down to Colombia and raise a family there?
For sure. My plan is to next 2 years actually start buying condos and Airbnb in them so I can stay there permanently. I mean, I'm gonna buy some property here too, but I rather just live there because one of the tour guides he took us all over the city pretty much. Cost of living is cheap, man. Like staying in like the Comuna 13, so on and so forth is about like, I'm not saying I want to live there, but it's what are they paying, like $100 a month? Like Lorelis, the rent is around like $250-300 US. Staying in the high-end areas in Poblado, we stayed in a 2-story condo, 3 bedrooms, with a nice view overlooking the city. Something a little bit less than that. It's probably about like $400 a month. The condo we stayed in is anywhere between $550-600 a month for rent.
The dog goes far.
Yeah, it was a very nice condo, and I'm pretty sure IP knows from Andre from Love Crossing Borders. He lives in Cali. When the dollar went up, his rent went down. I think he was paying like somewhere around 400 American dollars for a 3-bedroom in Cali, and the dollar went down. He's paying maybe like $300 right now.
Yeah.
And where'd you find the place you mentioned for 500?
It's actually an American on Airbnb. He actually bought the condo. He's not renting. So it's a new bill. I believe the billing has been there maybe about a little less than 3 or 4 years now. He bought a condo for about $200,000. The condo that we stayed in, it's very high end. It has 4 buildings, gate with a security and everything. A lot of like top Instagram influencers and TikTok influencers in Colombia live there. Government officials and entrepreneurs and business owners all live there. Because like when we pulled up, we're like, yo, this is kind of like different. It's a different vibe. And then when we got there, like we're waiting in the front to be checked in. And we saw nothing but like Mercedes and BMWs and Porsches from people that live in the building.
Damn. Yeah, I feel like the prices definitely went up for Airbnb. I was looking recently; it's like $800 now for a month, like right downtown. But who knows? Maybe it's gonna change.
I mean, you can contact the Airbnb directly on the back end and negotiate a price, because I know a lot of the owners don't want to pay those fees to Airbnb. So you just contact them on the back end, and then also just have it put in contract. So you can avoid those Airbnb fees, and then also you get a cheaper rate.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, like I
Okay,
said, go to that Medellin Facebook group. There's a lot of opportunities in there too.
let me ask this, right? So, brother Joe and Chad, how are you brothers? Sorry, I missed it, so I went to get some water. How are you booking your accommodation? Are you doing hotels? Are you doing it through hostels? And has it been easy, or are you using Airbnb? If so, how are you communicating with the Airbnb hosts? What if they don't speak English? They want to speak Spanish. I mean, what's your means of accommodation, and how do you communicate with the other person at the other end to book your accommodation, if it's Airbnb or whatever?
Yeah, for me, I just do Google Flights a couple months out before, just to make sure I get good prices, and then I do Airbnb. Um, there's like a bunch of like little tips and tricks you can do. Like if you type in like Medellin Airbnb, and I think it's if you select the dates but don't select the what part of the city you want, it'll give you like the best prices. I forgot that trick, but you can just play around with like Airbnb and figure out like what kind of setup you want to do. It's weird though because the last two places I had bad experiences, and I talked to Airbnb and they gave me like a 40% discount on my next place. But the last two times, I got a hotel and it was actually like very similar to Airbnb, so I wasn't really stressing that kind of stuff. And of course, food's like super cheap there, so
Oh, sorry. So when you say Airbnb, bro, are you communicating with the Airbnb host, or the person that works at Airbnb?
yeah, the Airbnb host. Most of them speak English, especially if you're in like Poblado or like right downtown. They kind of like have to speak English because they want top like American customers. But even if they don't, you can like all the messages in Airbnb are automatically translated. So if I type in English, when they see it in Spanish, and then when they type back in Spanish, I see it in English.
Awesome, thank you, bro. And what about you, Chad?
To be honest, man, Google Flights for me is always cheap to go to Colombia besides summertime, because like this past summer it was freaking like crazy. Like to go anywhere in Colombia was like no less than $500. But usually a flight for me, because I live in Miami, Cartagena is an hour and 45 minutes from me. Medellin is 2 hours and 30 minutes. So a flight is usually anywhere between $200 and $250 round trip. Um, uh, Usually, I just Airbnb, or if not, I got to connect in Cartagena for apartments for cheap. So I usually stay like outside of the tourist area, a little bit like north of the tourist area, because Cartagena is cracking down on like having like guest friendly. So because this past trip I went with like three guys, and um, uh, even if you have guy friends or whatever, like they're not even allowed in the Airbnb. So I had a plug for an apartment that I used last time I was in Cartagena, so I just got one of those apartments. But I usually just book through Airbnb. Colombia is cheap, man. Like, don't let these people like scare you away and saying it's hella expensive, so on and so forth. You can get apartments on Airbnb starting at like $25 to $30 a night. That's just for like something average. Like I've seen like 3 bedrooms on Airbnb starting at $60 a night. Or if not, you want something high end, you're paying for a 1 bedroom apartment. The most you should be paying is around like $100 a night. And if you're going with a big group, you can get a house that's starting at like 250 a night and up. So it's not crazy as people think. Because last time I went to Medellin was in April. We stayed in a 7 bedroom house in El Poblado. It was about $300 a night for 7 bedrooms, and it came with small backyard, but it came with a jacuzzi, like a waterfall. It's 2 floors. Had like a pool table, big screen TVs everywhere. It was lit, man, for 7 people. I think we stayed there for like 4 nights. Everybody paid like 250 or something like that for 7 people.
Awesome. All right, thank you, Chad. Thank you. So I want to hand over to our guest for his closing statement. I want to say thank you, bro, for coming on here and taking the time out and dropping it intel for brothers, bro. Do you have anything else you want to add before I end the live stream, bro? Still, Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear what I said?
Yeah. Oh, you want me to go?
Yes, brother. Yeah, Jab. Obviously, you're here for 2 hours. Jab. Anything else you want to say, bro?
Yeah, like I said, just thank you for having me on. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. But like I said, I think we're at a point in time where we need to look at different options. Like I said before, it's very important for me to to raise a family in the best situation possible. You can survive off of one income in Colombia and do very well off of that. So, like I said, make sure that you represent us well. I think that a lot of brothers are going to be out there in the next few years, 10, 15 years. I think it's a great opportunity to raise a family, but learn Spanish and just go from there. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you very much for the kind words, bro. Chad, the great Jab, any last closing statements, bro?
Yeah. Actually, there's actually some brothers that actually live in Medellin, man. A lot of them been moving out there quietly that people aren't talking about. There's a restaurant called Sweet Georgia Cafe. A black guy from Atlanta actually owns a restaurant. He's been there in Medellin for 5 years. He has like the best breakfast: bacon, eggs, pancake, waffles,
Wow.
pretty much like anything southern. He has their steak, chicken. It's pretty nice. I actually went there like 3 or 4 times. Like I was saying, the food is pretty dope. Actually, the cities in Medellin in the mountains, they're cooler, so they're like in the 70s during the day, 60s at night. It's the seafront cities like are near the ocean that are warm, like Cartagena, Santa Marta, Buena Vista, Barranquilla. Those are the cities that are actually like hot most of the year, but the cities in the mountains are actually cool. Stay off Tinder. It's gonna be hard to find good girls on Tinder, man. Try Bumble, try Colombian Cupid, and I believe there's another app, but it's hard to find quality regular girls on Tinder. You're gonna find pros or girls that's trying to take advantage of you. And then Colombia is dope, man. Just go and check it out. It's pretty safe. As long you can also leave the tourist area and go to some nice places, man. Like I see somebody in the chat saying Laurelis is dope. I actually went to Laurelis and a few other spots over the city by myself. So I love Colombia. Just try it out. It's a great experience. And you can go by yourself or you can go in a group. There's lots to do.
Awesome. Hey, thank you very much, bro. Appreciate it. Thank you, Chad. Mr. Joe, Jab, any closing statements, bro? Sugar. Can you hear me, Joe?
Just see you put something in the chat.
Oh, he said, okay, he said none for him. Okay, thank you, Joe. Appreciate the kind words. So I'll see you brothers tomorrow for the Japanese stream, woman. So that should be a very interesting one. Once again, thank you to our guest, Mr. Stillbill. So brothers, get your passport, brothers. The message is still there. A quiet night tonight. I'm not sure why.
I be last thing. There's a hurricane hitting the East Coast, so I think that's why a lot of people are kind of quiet. So it had just teared through Florida, like Tampa, Fort Myers, and Jacksonville. It's headed north now, like over Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and it's still going north.
I see. Oh wow. Oh, all right, brothers. Thank you very much for that, Chad. Brothers, stay safe out there. Keep warm, stay safe. I'm sorry to hear that, brothers. Sorry to hear that, man. So brothers, keep safe. The channel is here. Keep watching the channel. To keep you when you're holed up. Okay, the channel will never go away. I'm gonna keep pushing out this movement. You've seen the last videos about Germany. They're checking for brothers, and I'm planning a very big Germany stream. I'm gonna break down Germany to an absolute T. But I need your support, brothers, man. So every time I drop a video, watch the video fully, like the video, comment. If you can donate, donate. You know, it's very important that you engage, man. Engagements are very important for YouTube. Okay, so please do that for me. Shout out to Mr. Conrad Grant for the $2 super chat. I appreciate you both for the support. Means a lot to me. Thank you, man. So almost 10 years in this space, and I'm gonna keep doing what I can, man. So please support me, and we're going from there. Guests, thank you, bro. Have a great day over there. I believe in California. Chad, have a great day in Florida. And Joe, I'm not sure where you're from, Joe, but have a great time wherever you are in America. And look after yourself, brothers. Keep safe, keep warm, and hopefully this hurricane will pass very quickly. Have a nice day, brothers. International passport out. Peace out, brothers.
Yes, sir.
All right,
See you,
peace.
bro.